Guys, welcome to today's tutorial on turning this old splotchy tabletop into a more modern, trendy faux marble top. For this tutorial, the supplies you'll need are Lysol wipes, a credit card for air bubbles, an X-Acto knife or a box cutter, and of course your marble adhesive contact paper. If marble isn't a trend that you're into, you can use any other design choice. Amazon offers a wide variety of options, whether it's stone, metallic, movie scenes, you name it. So you don't necessarily have to use marble for this tutorial. So moving on, to start with, I've already prepped my table by wiping it. You want to measure the depth and the length of the table, but instead of measuring it exactly, I left a couple of inches off on each side. I feel like it just leaves more room for error. If you try to match the corners, it just goes awry. The corners aren't straight. It's not good. So always leave a little excess. That way you don't have to make sure that it's perfectly straight edges if you're not good at cutting straight lines. So to apply the adhesive, all you have to do is peel the back lining. As you can see in the video, it can take a couple tries, but once you get it started and once you get that first corner stuck down, you really want to be quick about grabbing your debit card or whatever you're using and starting to scrape those air bubbles out. To do this, you want to do it slowly by slowly pulling the lining back and scraping the air bubbles out. If you do it too quickly, kind of like I did at the beginning, it leaves more room for air to get in between the adhesive paper and the tabletop surface, and that just traps air and creates air bubbles, and it's really frustrating. The good thing about contact paper, it is a little forgiving. As you can see, I was able to pull up the corners where most of my air bubbles were and scrape them out. So if you do end up getting air bubbles, don't worry too much. It's not the end of the world. You can always peel it up and restart. But as soon as you're done getting all those air bubbles out, making sure the surface is smooth, you're going to want to transition into creasing the edges. Creasing the edges really starts a base guideline for where you're going to use your box cutter and cut off those excess contact paper. To begin with, you don't really have to concentrate on getting super close. I just cut off the majority of the excess that's on the edge. More towards the end, we'll focus on getting the excess and getting as flush to the tabletop as we can. Right now, we just want to focus on getting the majority of the excess contact paper off. So as you can see now, I'm going through and getting the excess. You want to get as close to the tabletop as you can without scratching it. Doing this will just make it really line up perfectly and make it look like it's part of the table instead of making it look like a piece of paper stuck on a bedside table. So just going around doing some last minute finishing touches on this, getting those little pesky things off. I actually ended up taking the excess contact paper that I cut off the edges and doing the sides of the table. That's not what I originally planned, but I really liked the look of it. So here it is completed with the edges. I think it fit more with my style, more into my room. So if you want to do that, by all means, but thanks for joining me.